A sky above Earth glowed with the lights of 1,000 ships as they escorted the USS Harbinger out of orbit. Nothing like it had ever been built before. The massive warship stretched over 2 miles from bow to stern, its dark hull reflecting the distant sun as it moved away from the blue planet. Today marked the beginning of humanity's bold push into deep space. Captain Elaine Summers stood tall on the bridge, her gray-streaked brown hair pulled back in a tight bun. At 52, she had spent more than half her life among the stars, but nothing compared to this moment. The Harbinger was humanity's greatest achievement, the first and only Titan-class warship, built not just for war, but as a symbol of what humans could create when they worked together. "All systems report ready, Captain," said Commander Jack Daniels from his station. The tall, dark-skinned man had been Elaine's right hand for over a decade. His calm voice steadied the bridge crew as they guided the enormous vessel away from Earth. "Thank you, Commander. Begin final departure sequence." Elaine's voice carried across the bridge without her having to raise it. The crew moved with practiced ease, their fingers dancing across control panels that glowed with soft blue light. Within the ship, Chief Engineer Maria Gonzalez monitored the massive engines that powered the Harbinger. The ship's heart was the revolutionary Helios drive, a system that could bend space itself, allowing for travel at speeds that previous generations had only dreamed about. Power levels stable at 80%, Maria reported through the ship's communication system. Her team of 50 engineers moved around the 3-story engine room, checking systems and adjusting power flows. "We could push it to 90, but I'd like to keep some reserve for our first jump." On the observation deck, Ambassador Alan Wright watched Earth grow smaller in the distance. As head of the diplomatic mission, he carried the hopes of 10 billion people on his shoulders. A man of 60 with kind eyes and a patient smile, he had spent his life bringing people together. Now he would try to do the same with beings from other worlds. "Quite a view, isn't it?" said Science Officer Peter Kim, as he joined the ambassador. The young scientist held a tablet showing strange energy readings from the edge of the solar system. "I've been tracking some unusual patterns near where we plan to make our first jump. Nothing dangerous, but definitely not natural." Alan nodded, his eyes still fixed on the shrinking Earth. "After all our years wondering if we were alone, it would be something if they found us first, wouldn't it?" The Harbinger carried 5,000 of Earth's finest scientists, diplomats, engineers, and soldiers. Among them was Security Chief Lisa Brown, who was currently inspecting the ship's armory with Marine Commander Vincent Garcia. "These pulse rifles are the latest model," Lisa explained, lifting one of the sleek weapons. "Non-lethal settings for diplomatic situations, but they can be adjusted if things get ugly." At 35, Lisa had risen quickly through the ranks due to her sharp mind and sharper instincts. Vincent nodded as he checked the weapon's balance. "Let's hope we don't need them. My Marines are ready either way." His team of 300 elite soldiers would protect the ship if diplomacy failed. As the first day in space turned to night by Earth time, the crew settled into their routines. The Harbinger hummed with activity around the clock, its massive corridors filled with people moving between stations. In the ship's central garden, fruit trees and vegetables grew under artificial sunlight, providing both food and a reminder of home. Captain Summers couldn't sleep. She stood in her private observation room, watching the stars. The weight of command had never felt heavier. "Trouble sleeping?" Commander Daniels asked as he entered with 2 cups of coffee. Elaine accepted, one with a small smile. "Just thinking about what we might find out there, Jack. Humanity has dreamed of this moment for centuries, and now we're living it." He stood beside her, looking out at the endless stars. The Harbinger is ready, so is her crew. Meanwhile, far beyond Neptune's orbit, alien eyes watched the human ship with growing concern. The observation vessel of the Galactic Council had been monitoring Earth for decades, watching as humans develop technologies that should have been beyond their reach. "The vessel is larger than our intelligence suggested," said First Observer Zrel to his captain. The thin, blue-skinned alien's large eyes blinked rapidly as he studied the sensor readings. "Their shielding technology blocks most of our scans." "Captain." Roan of the Council ship, Vigilant, clicked her mandibles in concern. "This changes the assessment. The humans should not have such advanced technology for at least another century, according to our models." "Should we alert the High Council?" Zrel asked. "Yes, send all data immediately. Request instructions." Roan turned her 4 eyes back to the view screen, showing the distant human ship. "And increase our cloaking field strength. We must not be detected." Unknown to the aliens, Science Officer Kim had already noticed something unusual. In his lab aboard the Harbinger, he studied the strange energy fluctuations with growing excitement. "Computer, compare these readings to all known natural phenomena," he said. The computer's calm voice responded after a moment. "No match found in database. Energy signature contains organized patterns consistent with artificial technology." Peters' heart raced as he called the bridge. "Captain, I believe we're being watched. There's something out there trying very hard not to be seen." On the bridge, Captain Summers received the news with outward calm. "Understood. Continue monitoring, but take no action. Inform Ambassador Wright, and have Commander Daniels meet me in the strategy room." As the Harbinger continued its journey outward, the crew remained unaware of the storm brewing among the 17 species of the Galactic Council. Humanity's unexpected leap forward had triggered emergency protocols, designed for potential threats to galactic stability. In the Council's distant capital, High Arbiter Carr reviewed the data from Earth with growing alarm. The bird-like aliens. Feathers ruffled as he turned to his advisors. "This changes everything. Prepare a contact fleet immediately. We must assess this human vessel directly before they advance further." Back on the Harbinger, as the first week in space came to an end, the crew celebrated with a small ceremony in the main hall. Captain Summers raised a glass to her crew. "To the Harbinger and her people. We carry the hopes of Earth with us into the unknown. Whatever awaits us among the stars, we face it together." No one aboard could have guessed that their first contact with alien life was now racing toward them, or that the Harbinger's very existence had already upset the balance of power in a galaxy that had remained stable for thousands of years. Humanity's journey to the stars was about to take an unexpected turn. 2 weeks into their journey, the UESS Harbinger reached the outer edge of the solar system. The crew had settled into their routines, and the excitement of departure had given way to the steady rhythm of ship operations. Captain Elaine Summers reviewed the morning reports in her office when the alarm sounded. "Captain to the bridge, Priority 1. Commander Jack Daniels' voice came through the ship-wide system. Elaine was on her feet instantly, moving through the corridors with practiced speed. When she reached the bridge, the crew stood at their stations, faces tense with excitement and fear. "Report," she ordered, taking her place in the command chair. Jack pointed to the main view screen. Multiple objects approaching at high speed. They appeared suddenly at the edge of our sensor range. Size and configuration unknown to our database. On the screen, 7 large shapes moved toward the Harbinger. As the computer enhanced the image, the crew could see these were ships, each nearly as large as their own vessel. Their designs were strange, smooth and flowing, unlike the more angular human craft. "Battle stations," Elaine ordered calmly. "Alert Ambassador Wright. This may be our first contact situation." Throughout the massive ship, warning lights flashed as crew members moved to their emergency positions. Weapon systems came online, and shield generators hung to life. In the Marine barracks, Commander Vincent Garcia prepared his troops. "This is not a drill," he told his soldiers as they checked their equipment. "Remember your training. No aggressive actions unless ordered." On the bridge, Communications Officer Samantha Wells worked at her station. Her fingers moved quickly across her console as she analyzed the incoming signals. "Captain, we're receiving a transmission. It's not in any known language, but the computer is working on translation patterns." Elaine nodded. "Put it on screen when ready." Minutes later, the view screen changed to show an alien face. The being had features similar to an earthbird, a curved beak-like mouth and large, forward-facing eyes. Feathers of deep purple and blue covered its head. When it spoke, the computer translated with only a slight delay. "Human vessel, this is High Arbiter Kesti Kar of the Galactic Council. Your presence has been noted, and your advance into deep space requires discussion. Prepare to receive a diplomatic party." Ambassador Alan Wright arrived on the bridge in time to hear the message. His gray eyes narrowed as he studied the alien. "Captain, I recommend we accept, but caution. Have Security Chief Brown prepare a reception area with appropriate security measures." Elaine nodded. "Send our response, Officer Wells. We accept their delegation and will prepare for their arrival." As the crew prepared for the alien visitors, Science Officer Peter Kim made a discovery in his lab. He rushed to the bridge, his normally calm face showing excitement. "Captain, I've analyzed their ships. Their technology is advanced, but in ways different from ours. They use a form of gravity manipulation for propulsion, while our Helios drive bends space-time itself. They're scanning us extensively, trying to understand our systems." Security Chief Lisa Brown joined the conversation. "They're having trouble scanning through our outer hull. The carbon-neutronium alloy blocks most of their sensor attempts." "Interesting," Elaine said. "Let's not give away all our secrets at once. Enable basic countermeasures, but keep our advanced systems hidden for now." 4 hours later, a small shuttle departed from the largest alien ship and approached the Harbinger. It passed through a specially opened section of the shield and docked. In the main hangar bay, Ambassador Wright stood ready with Captain Summers and a small honor guard. The tension in the air was thick enough to touch. When the shuttle door opened, 3 aliens emerged. High Arbiter Kust Kar led the group, his tall frame covered in ceremonial robes. Behind him came 2 others, one with scaled green skin and another with pale blue features and forearms. They moved with caution, their eyes taking in every detail of the human ship. "Welcome aboard the UESS Harbinger," Ambassador Wright said with a small bow. "I am Ambassador Alan Wright, representing the United Earth Government." The alien delegation seemed surprised by the formal welcome. Kust Kar returned the gesture with a slight nod of his feathered head. "Your hospitality is unexpected," he said. "I am High Arbiter Skar. These are Council Representatives Mrel and Dovak." As they walked from the hangar to the conference room, the aliens studied the ship with growing concern. The corridors were wider than necessary, the ceilings higher than needed for humans. Everything about the Harbinger suggested it was built with future expansion in mind, not just immediate needs dotting the conference room. With views of the stars through large windows, they began their talks. Captain Summers noticed how the aliens kept looking around, seemingly surprised by what they saw. "Your vessel is quite impressive," Skar said finally. "Our records indicated humanity was at least a century away from such achievements." "Ambassador." Wright smiled politely. "Perhaps your records need updating. Humanity has made significant advances in the past decades." The green-skinned alien, Mrel, leaned forward. "Your ship's size suggests military purpose. Is this a warship?" "The Harbinger is a multi-purpose vessel," Captain Summers replied carefully. "It serves diplomatic, scientific, and yes, defensive functions. Defensive? Questioned Forearm Dovak. Against what threats? Your species has not yet encountered others. Until today, Reich pointed out, and wisdom suggests being prepared for all possibilities. As they talked, the aliens grew increasingly agitated. Scar finally asked directly, "How did you develop a technology for this ship?" Our observations of Earth showed no indications of such rapid advancement. Before Wright could answer, the ship's alarm sounded again. Commander Daniel's voice came through the communication system. "Captain, the alien vessels are moving into formation around us. Their weapon systems appear to be activating." The mood in the conference room changed instantly. Scar stood, his feathers rising in what seemed like embarrassment or anger. "A misunderstanding," he said quickly. "Standard procedure when encountering unknown vessels." Captain Summers stood as well, her face calm but her eyes hard. "Interesting procedure for a diplomatic meeting. Perhaps we should continue this discussion after your ships stand down." On the bridge, Officer Wells made another discovery. "Captain, I'm intercepting communications between their ships. They're discussing containment protocols for unexpected technological development. They seem concerned about our ship's capabilities." Meanwhile, Chief Engineer Maria Gonzalez reported from engineering. "Captain, their scans are becoming more intrusive. They're trying to analyze the Helios drive. Should I activate full countermeasures?" The first contact that humanity had dreamed of for generations was quickly becoming a tense standoff. As Captain Summers looked at the alien delegation in the conference room, she knew her next decisions would shape humanity's place among the stars. Aboard the Council flagship, 17 holographic figures appeared around a large circular table. Each represented one of the member species of the Galactic Council. High Arbiter Kar stood in the center, his feathers still ruffled from the tense meeting aboard the human ship. "The situation is more serious than we expected," Kar began. "The human vessel exceeds our projections by at least 100 years of technological development. Their Titan-class ship rivals our largest vessels in size and appears to use principles unknown to our science." A hologram of a reptilian being with 6 eyes leaned forward. "How is this possible? Our monitoring stations on their moon have reported no such advancements." "Unknown," Kar admitted. "Their security measures blocked most of our scans. What little we gathered suggests they've taken a completely different path in technological development than any council race." A cloud-like entity pulsed with red. Light as it spoke. "This is precisely why the council exists. Uncontrolled technological development leads to chaos. These humans must be contained until we can assess the full extent of their capabilities." Not all council members agreed. A small, gray-skinned being with large eyes raised a hand. "Perhaps we should consider the humans as potential allies rather than threats. Their innovation could benefit all council races." "Naive," growled a massive, furry creature. "New species must be carefully integrated over generations. These humans have bypassed our established protocols. They must be controlled." As the debate continued, plans were made. Most council members favored a show of force to establish dominance, followed by controlled integration of humans into the galactic community, on the council's terms, not as equals. Meanwhile, aboard the Harbinger, Captain Summers called an emergency meeting with her senior staff. Ambassador Wright sat at her right hand, his face grave. "Our situation has changed," Elaine began. "Communications Officer Wells has intercepted and partially decoded transmissions between the alien vessels. It seems the Galactic Council doesn't welcome new species as equals." Samantha Wells displayed the translated communications on the room's main screen. "From what we can gather, they've been watching Earth for centuries. They expected to approach us in another 100 years, after, guiding our development in directions they approved." Ambassador Wright shook his head. They see our independent development as threatening. The Harbinger especially concerns them since it represents technology they don't fully understand. Can we trust them? Commander Jack Daniels asked the question. On everyone's mind. Uncertain, Security Chief Lisa Brown replied. But their ships have moved into positions that suggest they're preparing for possible offensive action. I recommend we ready our defensive systems. Captain Summers nodded. Do it, but quietly. No obvious power-ups that their sensors might detect. In the engineering section, Maria Gonzalez and Peter Kim worked together, studying the alien technology based on the limited sensor data they had gathered. Their tech is advanced, Maria said as she reviewed the scans, but it's not as innovative as ours. They've been refining the same principles for thousands of years, while we've been exploring entirely new approaches. Peter nodded. That's both good and bad news. Good because our systems might give us an edge they don't expect. Bad because they seem threatened by technologies they don't understand. The Helios drive especially, Maria added. Their ships use advanced gravity manipulation for propulsion. But our drive actually bends space-time. It's like comparing a very advanced boat to something that can dive under the water. On the bridge, Officer Wells received another transmission. Captain, they're requesting Ambassador Wright and you return to negotiations. They want to discuss integration protocols for humanity joining the galactic community. Integration protocols, Wright repeated with a frown. That sounds more like terms of surrender than an equal partnership. We'll go, Captain Summers. Decided, but prepared for any outcome. Commander Daniels, you have the bridge while we're gone. If anything seems off, don't hesitate to take defensive action. Before leaving for the meeting, Elaine stopped by the ship's observation deck. The massive alien vessels surrounded the Harbinger, their sleek designs beautiful, but clearly built for power. Beyond them, the stars stretched into infinity, a reminder of how small humanity was in the greater universe. But Elaine felt no fear, only determination. We didn't come this far to be controlled, she said quietly to herself. Across the void of space, in a private chamber aboard the Council flagship, 3 of the most powerful Council members met in secret. The humans cannot be allowed to roam freely with such technology, said the eldest, a being so ancient its original form was hidden beneath layers of cybernetic enhancements. We have maintained order for 15,000 years by controlling the development of new species. Their ship concerns me, added the military director, a being with metallic skin. Initial scans suggest defensive capabilities we cannot easily overcome and weapons of unknown power. Then we must act decisively, concluded the third, the Council's chief strategist. If their vessel truly represents their technological level, humans could destabilize the careful balance we've maintained. Better to show our full strength now than allow them to grow stronger. As Captain Summers and Ambassador Wright prepared to board the shuttle that would take them to the Council flagship, they were unaware of the decisions being made. But they weren't going unprepared. Wright carried emergency communication devices, hidden in his formal attire, while Captain Summers wore a personal shield generator disguised as a medal. Before they left, Commander Daniels pulled Elaine aside. I don't like this, Captain. It feels like we're walking into a trap. It probably is, she agreed quietly. But sometimes you need to spring the trap to reveal your opponent's true intentions. Have Chief Engineer Gonzalez ready the Helios drive for emergency maneuvers, and make sure Marine Commander Garcia has strike teams prepared. As their shuttle left the Harbinger, Captain Summers looked back at her ship. The massive vessel represented the best of humanity, their innovation, determination, and spirit of exploration. She would not allow it, or Earth, to be subjugated by beings who feared what they didn't understand. On the Council flagship, the 17 representatives waited, their decision made. Humanity would be given a choice: accept control and guidance from the Council, with strict limits on their technological development, or face immediate containment. Either way, the Galactic Council would maintain its power and the status quo it had preserved for millennia. What they didn't realize was that humanity had never been good at accepting limits imposed by others. The Council flagship's meeting chamber was designed to impress. Captain Summers and Ambassador Wright walked down a long pathway toward a curved table where 7 alien representatives sat on elevated platforms. The room's high ceiling sparkled with what looked like stars, and the walls shifted colors in slow waves. High Arbiter Xotter stood at the center. Welcome, humans. The full Council has reviewed your situation and prepared terms for Earth integration into our galactic community. Ambassador Wright smiled politely, though his eyes remained cautious. We appreciate your welcome, High Arbiter. However, Earth doesn't seek integration as much as mutual cooperation and friendship. A large alien with rocky skin leaned forward. Friendship comes after understanding. The Council has guided developing species for 15,000 years. All current members benefited from our wisdom before joining as equals. What exactly are you proposing? Captain Summers asked directly. Saustar touched a control, and a hologram appeared showing Earth. We would establish guidance outposts on your world and your neighboring planets. Council advisors would help direct your technological development along approved paths. Your Titan-class vessel would be placed under joint control until humans have shown they understand the responsibilities of advanced spacefaring species. Wright and Summers exchanged a quick glance. The message was clear. Surrender your independence or face consequences. And if Earth prefers to develop at its own pace? Wright asked. The rocky alien's voice grew harder. That is not an option. Uncontrolled development threatens galactic stability. Look at your Harbinger, a warship of unprecedented size built by a species that has barely left its own solar system. The Council cannot permit such unchecked advancement. Back on the Harbinger, Commander Daniels received an urgent message from Officer Wells. Commander, I've intercepted more communications. Multiple Council vessels are powering up weapon systems. They're positioning for a containment formation. Alert all stations, Jack ordered immediately. Shields at full power. Ready defensive. Systems, but take no offensive action without my command. Throughout the massive ship, crew members moved with calm efficiency. In the engine room, Maria Gonzalez prepared the Helios drive for emergency maneuvers. Power levels at 95% and holding. We can jump at your command, Commander. Marine Commander Vincent Garcia positioned his teams at key points. Throughout the ship, all squads in position. Fighter pilots on standby. In the Council chamber, Captain Summers activated her hidden communicator, sending a silent alert to the Harbinger. She had heard enough. Your terms are unacceptable, she said firmly. Earth will not surrender its sovereignty or its right to determine its own future. The alien seemed unsurprised by her response. Scar sighed, a strange whistling sound through his beak-like mouth. We had hoped for cooperation. Unfortunately, if you cannot accept guidance, we must insist on containment until your leaders show more wisdom. As if on cue, the room's doors opened and armed guards entered. At the same moment, the main view screen showed the Council fleet moving into attack positions around the Harbinger. Captain Summers to Harbinger, Aileen said clearly into her communicator. Defensive Protocol Alpha, now. Aboard the Harbinger. Commander Daniels gave the order. Execute Alpha Protocol. What happened next stunned the Council representatives. The Harbinger, seemingly surrounded and outgunned, suddenly came alive with energy. A blue-white field expanded outward from the ship, creating a perfect sphere that pushed the nearest Council vessels back. The unexpected force caused several alien ships to scramble to regain their positions. On the bridge, Science Officer Peter Kim monitored the shield's performance. Shield holding at 100%. Their initial weapons scan didn't even register on our power grid. When one nervous council vessel fired a warning shot, the energy simply dissipated against the Harbinger's shield, without any visible effect in the council chamber. The aliens watched in disbelief as their fleets' advantage disappeared. Captain Summers stood tall, her voice steady. Perhaps we should continue this discussion more honestly. Impossible, the rocky alien growled. No developing species has such defensive technology. Ambassador Wright smiled. You keep underestimating humanity. We didn't develop along your expected paths because we found better ones. Before the council representatives could respond, Officer Wells' voice came through Summers' communicator. Captain, fighter squads ready for deployment on your command. Deploy demonstration pattern, Elaine ordered. From the Harbinger's massive hangar bays, 30 sleek fighter craft emerged. Led by Flight Commander Olivia Rodriguez, they formed a perfect defensive screen around the human ship. The fighters moved with incredible precision, executing maneuvers that the Council's own smaller craft couldn't match. As you can see, Captain, Summers said to the shocked Council members, we came prepared for peaceful contact, but also ready to defend ourselves if necessary. High Arbiter Scar's feathers flattened against his head, a sign of distress. Your fighters are within our vessel's defensive perimeter. How did they penetrate our sensor grid without detection? That's not important right now, Ambassador. Wright said firmly. What matters is that we establish one fact. Earth will not be controlled or contained. We are willing to join your council as equals, sharing knowledge and culture, but never as subjects. In engineering, Maria Gonzalez prepared her final demonstration. With careful precision, she activated a controlled Helios drive sequence. Space. Around portions of the Harbinger seemed to bend and shift. To the watching council fleet, it appeared as if sections of the massive ship existed in multiple locations, simultaneously, a technology completely beyond their understanding. What are you doing to your ship? Demanded Scar, genuine fear in his voice for the first time. Just a small demonstration of our drive technology, Captain Summers explained calmly. The Helios drive doesn't just move through space, it manipulates space itself. On the Harbinger's bridge, Security Chief Lisa Brown activated the ship's countermeasure system, temporarily disabling sensors on the nearest council vessels without causing any permanent damage. Sensor disruption successful, she reported to Commander Daniels. Their main flagship is experiencing a complete systems reset. The balance of power had shifted dramatically. What began as an attempt to intimidate humanity had become a demonstration of human capabilities that the Council had never anticipated. Several Council ships backed away from the Harbinger. Clearly reassessing the situation. In the Council chamber, Kestcar conferred urgently with the other representatives. After several tense minutes, he turned back to Captain Summers and Ambassador Wright. It seems we have misjudged humanity's development level, he admitted reluctantly. Perhaps we should restart our discussions with a different approach. Captain Summers nodded. I believe that would be wise. And this time, let's talk as equals. 3 days after the confrontation, representatives from Earth and the Galactic Council met on neutral ground. A space station was quickly assembled between the Harbinger and the Council flagship. The simple structure had one large room with a round table and viewing windows that looked out at the stars, and the ship's Ambassador Alan Wright led the human delegation, with Captain Summers, Science Officer Peter Kim, and Engineer Maria Gonzalez beside him. Across the table sat High Arbiter, Scar, and delegates from 6 other Council species. The mood was tense but respectful, very different from their previous meetings. Let us begin again, Scar said, his voice softer than before. The Council acknowledges that our approach was flawed. For 15,000 years, we have guided developing species into the galactic community. Never before have we encountered a civilization that advanced so quickly on such a different technological path. Ambassador Wright nodded. Humanity has always valued innovation and independent thinking. Our history is filled with explorers and inventors who found new ways forward when old paths seemed blocked. A small, gray-skinned alien with large eyes spoke next. She had been the only council member who had initially advocated for treating humans as equals. I am Representative Nala of the Elwë people. My species joined the council only 800 years ago. We too faced resistance. The council fears what it does not understand. Fear is often the beginning of wisdom, Wright replied with a smile. If it leads to caution rather than aggression. The discussions continued through the day, focusing on practical matters. The humans proposed a new framework for joining the galactic community. Not as a controlled species, but as a full member from the start. We offer technological exchange. Peter Kim explained as he displayed holographic models of systems that could complement council technology. Our Helios drive principles can enhance your gravity propulsion. In exchange, we would welcome knowledge of your biological sciences, which appear more advanced than ours. The rocky-skinned alien who had been so hostile before studied the displays. With growing interest, these approaches are unorthodox, but fascinating. Our scientists would never have considered bending space-time in this manner. That's precisely why diversity of thought benefits everyone, Maria Gonzalez pointed out. Different evolutionary paths lead to different solutions to the same problems. As the sun set on the third day of negotiations, something remarkable happened. Several progressive council members formed an alliance with Earth. Others remained suspicious, but recognized that conflict would be costly and potentially futile. The Council's unified power structure, unchanged for thousands of years, began to evolve. We propose Earth send permanent representatives to the Council, Xother announced in the final session. Not as observers, but as full voting members. Ripple of surprise passed through both delegations. Such an offer was unprecedented in Council history. New species typically spend centuries as non-voting associates before gaining full rights. We accept, Ambassador Wright said simply, and we propose a joint exploration initiative, led by the Harbinger, into regions of space neither humans nor the Council has fully mapped. Back on the Harbinger, Communications Officer Samantha Wells worked with her alien counterparts to establish new protocols for cultural exchange. We need to understand each other beyond politics, she explained. Music, art, literature, these help build true connections between different peoples. In the ship's main laboratory, Peter Kim hosted scientists from 3 council species, showing them principles of the Helios drive while learning about their advanced biological technologies. The excitement of discovery replaced the earlier tensions as ideas flowed freely between former adversaries. Captain Summers stood on the observation deck with Commander Daniels, watching the council ships. The vessels no longer surrounded the Harbinger in threatening positions, but floated alongside as equals. Did you ever imagine our first contact would go like this? Jack asked quietly. Elaine shook her head. I expected either simple friendship or open conflict. Not this complex. Dance of power and diplomacy. Humanity at its best, Jack observed. We didn't back down, but we didn't seek dominance either. Just respect and independence. Not all council members were pleased with the new arrangement. The ancient faction that had maintained control for millennia saw humans as dangerous disruptors of the established order. But their power was waning as younger species saw the benefits of Earth's more equal approach to galactic relations. 1 week after the first tense encounter, the Harbinger prepared to return to Earth with the historic news. A delegation of council representatives would travel with them, the first aliens to visit humanity's homeworld. Ambassador Wright stood with Captain Summers on the bridge as the massive ship turned toward home. "We came seeking new worlds," he said thoughtfully, "but we found something more important, a new future for humanity among the stars. And perhaps a new future for the Council as well," Elaine added. "Their system worked for thousands of years, but all things must evolve or stagnate." As the Harbinger's engines powered up, Captain Summers gave the order to begin the journey. Home, the ship that had been built as humanity's ultimate defender, had become their greatest. The IPLOMA, to not by hiding its strength, but by demonstrating wisdom in how that strength was used. In the Council flagship, High Arbiter Scar watched the Harbinger begin its journey to Earth. His aide approached cautiously. "High Arbiter, some Council members are still concerned about the humans. They advance so quickly and think so differently. They could change everything." KZZ Carr's feathers ruffled slightly as he considered this. "Yes," he said finally, "they will change everything. And perhaps that is exactly what the galaxy needs after 15,000 years of the same path." On Earth, billions of people waited eagerly for news of their first contact with alien life. They could not know how close they had come to conflict, or how their massive warship had prevented it not through battle, but through strength and restraint. As the Harbinger traveled through the stars toward home, carrying news that would forever change human history, Captain Summers issued a ship-wide announcement to all crew of the UESS Harbinger. "Today marks not the end of our mission, but its true beginning. We set out to represent humanity among the stars. Now we return as the bridge between Earth and a galaxy of new friends, new challenges, and endless possibilities." The Harbinger's journey had only just begun, and with it, humanity's new place in the universe.